Welcome to my channel.
While the idea of a performer collapsing into the arms of a loving audience has a certain romantic appeal, in real life it can be pretty horrifying. For one reason or another, these performers died in front of their audiences, unexpectedly taking their final bows. Nick Minza was a drummer best known for his work with Megadeth, playing on highly regarded albums like Rust in Peace and Countdown to Extinction. Apart from Megadeth, Minza also played with the bands Mimarain, Fear Assembly, Orphan to Hatred, and OHM. It was during a gig with OHM in May 2016 that Minza's heart gave out. The 51-year-old collapsed on stage during the third song of the band's set at a show in Studio City, California, and he was pronounced dead upon arrival at a nearby hospital. On December 8, 2004, in Columbus, Ohio, Dimebag Darrell Abbott was on stage with the rock band Damageplan, which he'd formed with his brother Vinny after the breakup of their previous band Pantera. Just 90 seconds into their set, a 25-year-old ex-Marine named Nathan Gale made his way onto the stage with a gun, opening fire on Abbott and others. Abbott died as a result of his injuries along with 3 others. Gale, whose mother said he was discharged from the military due to mental health issues, also died that night, being shot and killed by a police officer. Though several theories about Gale's motivations have been floated, none could be conclusively proven, leaving the deaths a senseless tragedy. As an original member of Boston, drummer John Sib Hashian played on 2 of the best-selling rock albums of the 70s, Boston and Don't Look Back. The success of the band allowed him to keep working as a drummer for the rest of his life. Decades after the height of Boston's success, Hashian joined the classic rock nostalgia circuit, booking a spot on the Legends of Rock cruise. While performing at sea with the band Dirty Water in March 2017, Hashian collapsed behind the drums during a set, dying of a heart attack at age 67. He had been diagnosed with kidney cancer just months before his death. Gustav Berglund, also known as Colonel Bruce Hampton, has been called the grandfather of the jam band scene. A lifelong musician, Hampton played funky guitar music with many avant-garde rock bands, including the Quark Alliance, the Late Bronze Age, and the Hampton Grease Band. In May 2017, many of Hampton's peers descended on Atlanta for a concert in his honor, taking place the day after Hampton turned 70. But the All-Star Jam session unexpectedly turned from a celebration to a send-off when Hampton collapsed during the show. As a teenage guitar wizard named Taz Niederauer showed off some tasty licks, Hampton fell to the ground, resting his arm on a speaker as the performers on stage continued to play for several minutes. As musician Reverend Jeff Mosier later wrote in a Facebook post, the performers thought Hampton had fallen to his knees in a "we're not worthy" gesture toward Niederauer. Hampton died that night in an Atlanta hospital. In April 1984, Welsh prop comedian and magician Tommy Cooper appeared on the UK variety show Live from Her Majesty's, but his act was derailed by a sudden crisis. After an attractive magician's assistant came onto the stage during his performance, Cooper suddenly fell backwards, which many took to be an act of impromptu physical humor. But this wasn't comedy, it was tragedy. The 63-year-old Cooper had suffered a heart attack on live TV. The director sent the show to an unscheduled commercial break as Cooper was pulled off stage. He was taken to a hospital and pronounced dead upon arrival. One of the most popular and dynamic wrestlers in the WWE in the 1990s, Owen Hart was part of a wrestling legacy alongside his brother Bret the Hitman Hart. In May 1999, he was set to make an elaborate entrance at the Over the Edge pay-per-view event, being lowered from the rafters into the ring via an elaborate wire system. But when it came time to do the stunt, the rigging tragically malfunctioned, sending the Blue Blazer plunging to the mat. He fell onto the top rope and then into the ring. 16,000 people in Kansas City's Kemper Arena went quiet with horror as announcer Jim Ross told the crowd that Hart's fall was not scripted. Viewers watching the event on TV didn't see the actual fall. Instead, the broadcast was showing highlights of Hart's past matches to build up drama before his big entrance. Hart, who had recently celebrated his 34th birthday, was pronounced dead at a local hospital. Tiny Tim was one of the most unique performers to ever score a hit record. A tall, stringy-haired man with a penchant for singing in a high, lilting voice, his version of an old standard called Tiptoe Through the Tulips hit number 17 on the Billboard Pop Chart in 1968. On November 30th, 1996, Tiny Tim played a benefit show for the Women's Club of Minneapolis. During a performance of his most famous song, the musician abruptly stopped playing, then told his wife he didn't feel well. Then the 64-year-old performer collapsed, dying a few hours later in a Minneapolis hospital, likely of cardiac arrest. Morphine was one of the most unique alternative rock bands of the 90s, playing music that was funky, groovy, and vaguely unsettling. That memorable style was due in large part to singer and bassist Mark Sandman, who pioneered bizarre, extra-low bass tunings that added a spooky element to Morphine's songs. The band was performing at an Italian music festival outside of Rome in 1999 when the 46-year-old suddenly stopped playing and fell to the ground. He was rushed to a hospital but pronounced dead in an ambulance on the way there. French singer Barbara Weldens was a star on the rise before her life was cut short by a freak stage accident. In 2017, the singer had just released her first album, the success of which made her a big draw for the Leo Ferré Festival in Gougeron, France. According to eyewitnesses, Weldens put on a terrific show and earned a standing ovation. She was soaking it all in when she suddenly lurched forward and fell lifeless to the ground. The singer, who performed barefoot, had stepped on a malfunctioning piece of electrical equipment, and the resulting shock sent her into fatal cardiac arrest. She was only 35 years old.